All right, folks, so what we're going to be doing in this video today is talking about using inverse variation. Okay, so here we have a very simple chart. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to determine, does this represent inverse variation? Then we're going to determine the constant of variation. And then we're going to take a look at what happens if I have an x value and a y value. Can I write the equation and then determine anything in there? All right, so the first thing, in order to determine if this is a inverse variation, all we need to do is create another line of x times y. All right, and as we can see, coming down, these are all going to be 12. Okay, so in order for this to be an inverse variation, it has to have the same product all the way down. So since this does, okay, we'll call this, relation S, okay? So then we could say that S is an inverse variation. So now we would have to figure out the constant of variation. Well, the constant of variation is going to be quite simple because it's right down here, right? So we can figure out then that 12 is my constant of variation. So let's take a look at what this means. Now, notice we're dealing with inverse variation instead of direct variation. We remember the formula for direct variation, or the equation, is y equals kx. So inverse variation is going to be different, okay? And it's going to be written in the form y equals k over x. So as we can see here, since my constant of variation is going to be 12, the equation for s is going to be y equals 12 over x. And as you see, whether I plug in 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, or 12, I'm getting these numbers respectively. Now, notice that 5 is omitted, right? We could still find that, right? We would just plug in 5 for x. What would we get for y? Well, y would be 12 over 5, or 2 2/5, okay? Or 2 4/10 if we wanted to write it as a decimal. Okay, so now if I'm given a y and given an x, how do I come up with the equation? All right, so let's say that my y I'm dealing with is going to be 3, and my x I'm dealing with is going to be 10. So all we do is we just plug it into the formula and we solve for k. Again, it's y equals k over x. So what is my value of k going to be? Well, 3 equals k over 10. Therefore, we can see that the k is going to equal 30. All right, we just multiply both sides by 10. So if x equals 12, then what does y equal? Okay, well, we have to write the equation of this first. Well, that's simple. We've identified the k, so now we know the equation is going to be y equals 30 over x. So again, I asked the question, if x equals 12, then what does y equal? So we can say it's equal to 30 over 12, but we have to remember that needs to be simplified, okay? I can't leave this here because it's not simplified in simplified form. So we can see here that both 30 and 12 can have 6 go into it. 6 goes into 30 5 times, okay? 6 goes into 12 twice. So if x is 12, then y equals 5/2, okay? And we could write this as 5/2, or we could write this as 2 1/2, or we could write this as 2 5/10, whichever way we see fit. So this is just a brief introduction to inverse variation, understanding how to determine if something's inverse, how to write a function, and then how to go ahead and use it.